Welcome back, everyone. This is the ASMR Native Cookbook follow-up video. It's been a while since I looked at it, and I wanna finish off some of it. Like, I'm not reading every recipe or even necessarily any of them. Sorry, there's some coffee. But there are some interesting things in the book that I was wanting to share. In the interest of wanting to share things with you, we are coming back. The last time we were here, I believe we stopped after... I had to look it up, so we stopped right after the pigeons and doves section. Which means we have... Next, they talk about dove casserole and doves with mushroom sauce, pigeon pie, pigeons with sausage stuffing. Oh, and then metric conversions. Okay, so we're on the fish section. So, being that we're on this lovely fish section, I should start now. Okay, so fish. Fish should be cleaned immediately after catching and stored in a cold place until ready to use or frozen if they are not going to be eaten the same day. If caught in the position of swallowing a bone, always have bread available, as a small chunk of bread can usually force the bone down to avoid choking. In order to tell if the fish is cooked sufficiently, the meat should flake at the touch of a fork. Usually this is about 10 minutes. To prevent fish from falling apart when frying, coat with beaten egg and then flour or use a coating mix. I remember when camping, I think my uncle made it with pancake batter. The pancake batter one tastes pretty good. Okay, so we get a few little drawings. I guess I should say, yeah, if you didn't get to see the other first video, it was published by the Lovesick Lake Native Women's Association. And in the other video, there was a lot of cool things, so you might want to go and check that out. I will link it for you. Oops, making a mess of my setup here. Okay, the bass. The bass is an abundant fish. They can be found in sluggish or clear water, depending on the variety. The color is dark green on the back, dull greenish silver on the sides, and pale below. Weight of fish is about 2 to 3 pounds. It is found in the Great Lake region. I'm not a good fisherman, to be honest with you. I also lack patience. But I'm sure some of you like to fish. You probably know more than I do. You probably already know all this. Especially if you're from this area. Okay, carp. Carp is a large, coarse fish with a saw-edged spine on the dorsal and anal fin. It has 2 pairs of barbels at the mouth. It is a dusky greenish or brownish on the back and sides, yellowish on the lower sides, and belly, and reddish on the fins. It reaches a length of 2 feet or more and weighs of more than 7 pounds. In the Great Lakes, or at least in Lake Ontario, I don't know if all the lakes are completely infested, but the Asian carp, it's an invasive species, and I know in Hamilton they have like an electric barrier that stops the carp from getting into the marshlands because they completely destroyed it. And man, are they procreate so quickly, and It's just crazy. Okay, so the catfish. The catfish has a bony ridge from head to dorsal fin. It has 4 barbels around its mouth. Its color varies from dark yellowish brown to black. It reaches a length of 12 to 18 inches and seldom weighs more than 1 or 2 pounds. It is found in the Great Lakes region and is very good to eat. I don't think I've ever had catfish. I hear it's, isn't it like more popular in the southern states? I'm not sure. Okay, eel. It has a long snake-like form with a large mouth projecting lower jaw and will develop pectoral fins. The scales are small and embedded. It is variable in color, running from brown to yellowish olive with a paler underside. It may reach lengths of 4 to 5 feet and weigh only 7 pounds. Yeah, they get pretty long, but apparently are not terribly heavy. The muskie. Muskie has a long pointed head, formidable teeth, and fine scales. The dorsal and anal fins are located opposite one another near the tail. They are usually dark gray on the back, grayish silver with round or squarish blackish spots on their sides, and a white belly. The length is 4 feet and weighs 50 pounds. They are found in the Great Lake region. Yeah, some of these are pretty big, and I think that somebody told me once they saw a muskie like pop out of the water and grab a baby duckling, like a baby duckling. Okay, that's like almost like a double negative. A duckling. Yeah, it's a little disturbing. A little duckling and picked one out of the water. I don't know if that's typical behavior or what. Pickerel. It has a perch-like structure with 2 dorsal fins, a longish pike-like head, and many sharp canine teeth. The scales are small and rough. Color varies, but is usually a mottled, dark olive and brassy. The belly is yellowish or white. Medium-sized fish reach lengths under 3 feet and weigh less than 20 pounds. They are also found in the Great Lakes region. Beautiful. I don't have any stories about pickerel. Sorry. I don't think I have any stories about pike either, but we're going to read it. Pike. Similar in features to the muskellunge or the muskie. The size is usually under 4 feet and under 40 pounds. It has a long pointed head, formidable teeth, and fine scales. I'm noticing since we're reading this fish section, it must have been written by somebody else because there's a lot of errors. The dorsal and anal fins are located near the tail, opposite one another. They are usually dark gray on the back, grayish silver with roundish or squarish spots on the sides, and white on the belly. They are found in northern North America. Yeah, I didn't notice any mistakes really in the rest of the book, but now suddenly in the fish section, there's a lot of misspellings. Maybe they forgot to edit this part. Salmon. They vary in size from 15 to 100 pounds. I didn't realize they get that big. What? Alright, you learn something new every day. I'm gonna forget this, but up to 100 pounds fish? Wow. Okay. They are found in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, rivers that flow into them, and the Great Lakes and their tributaries. They are delicious to eat. Their deliciousness is certainly true, though I prefer my salmon in sushi or like smoked salmon. I don't particularly care for like just baked salmon or whatever. Okay. Smelt. Smelt are small, slender fish. They have a translucent greenish back with silvery sides. They rarely exceed 10 inches in length. They are found from Virginia northward to the Gulf of the St. Lawrence. I don't think I've ever had smelt. Somebody told me, I think that this is the fish that they said that basically they thought was kind of like candy and they could eat like tons of them. I don't think they actually taste like candy, but apparently they're really good. Large lake trout. I do like trout. I like smoked trout though. So I don't know if I've had it any other way, but I really do like the smoked, like dried trout. Smoked and dried trout. And that you can like break apart and put on crackers. Oh, so good. But I don't know if it's a large lake trout that I had or what kind of trout, because there's different kinds. A large lake trout has very dark to pale gray back and sometimes has greenish sides. It is profusely spotted. They can grow to a very large size, weighing up to 80 pounds. Did not know that. It is found in deep water lakes from the Great Lakes north to Labrador, Hudson Bay, and Alaska. I don't know if I've had whitefish. Okay, the whitefish. Whitefish. The whitefish have a small mouth with a distinct lower jaw. They have long, slender gill rakers. What are gill rakers? Okay. Okay. I decided to go and look it up to see what gill rakers were. And they're like in the gill, they're like little pointed structures little bony structures that point inwards. So you have the gill, like that's kind of like curved, right? But inside that, you can see they help with gathering food and protection so that things don't get stuck back like from the outside into the gill, I guess. Something like that. I'd never heard of them before. They are a deep-bodied and compressed fish. The fish is olive green with white sides. The fish varies in size, the longest being over 2 feet and weighing 23 pounds. It has soft flesh, therefore it spoils rapidly, but is an excellent table fish. It is found in the Great Lakes region northward. Interesting. And then you get a whole bunch of different recipes here. Baked bass, bass with herbs, bass fillets, and stuffed olives. Stuffed olives. Fresh bass soup. Carp in beer. Catfish bake. Skillet fried catfish. Catfish delight. Catfish stew. Casserole of eels. I've had eel once on sushi and that was the fishiest thing I've ever eaten. I didn't really like it. I don't know if like freshwater eels are different. Muskellunge. So filleted muskellunge, garlic powder, onion powder, pancake mix, butter, and fat. Yeah, that's basically the way my uncle once cooked when we were camping as kids. So pancake batter. It was good. Musky steaks, baked muskellunge, pickerel in sauce, pickerel bisque, pickerel soup, pike burger, broiled broiled open pike. Pike casserole. Salmon loaves. Huh. Salmon rice salad. Macaroni salmon casserole. Pan-fried smelt. Yeah, I think this is what my friend said tasted really good with the smelt, the pan-fried smelt, this recipe. It's just flour, salt, pepper, butter, and lemon wedges. Cheese-coated smelt, oh my goodness. Fried smelts with hollandaise sauce. Hollandaise sauce. Poached lake trout. Fish cakes. I'd try fish cake. I'd probably try a lot of this stuff, actually. Trout scallops. Fish cheeks. What? What's a fish cheek? Is it just like the side of a fish? The cheeks of pickerel and lake trout are large enough to use. They are boneless, skinless, and considered a delicacy. This is the first time I've ever heard of that. Basic fried whitefish. Whitefish and noodle casserole. Jellied baked whitefish. And I think we're out of the fish section. It's a little doodle over here. Cleaning, skinning, and tanning. I'm not going to get into the details of this because I've never done it. And I think for my own sanity, I don't want to know how my food is prepared. Not in that way anyway. Not today. Maybe when I'm more mentally, when I have my mental fortitude going. I think I had frog legs once by like accident. I didn't know what they were, but they just tasted like chicken to me, so. Interesting. Okay. Okay, well, there is very obviously a lot of good tips in this book regarding how to prepare the things that you've hunted. I'm not going to be hunting anytime soon, as far as I know. Okay. Well, it even tells you how to clean the turtle. Oh, wow. Okay, let's continue on. And then it talks about how to do the tanning. This seems like a lot of work. Okay, so let's just we'll skip like the most detailed parts, but let's read this just for fun. Okay, so this is all about tanning, how to tan the hides. So 1, you remove the hide from the animal while being careful neither to cut through the skin nor to leave big chunks of flesh on the animal. Okay. A fleshing occurs once the hide has been removed from the animal. This process involves removing bits of meat and fat that are still on the hide. To make the job easier, first soak the skin in a solution of either salt or borax, using the following proportions: 1 pound salt per 2 gallons of soft water, or 1 ounce borax per gallon of water. Note: use hot water to dissolve the borax, but let it cool off before immersing the skin. An agitator-type washing machine will speed up the soaking process and also help reduce hair loss by avoiding over-soaking. hours or overnight. Remove from solution and rinse in fresh water and let drain. Then while the flesh side is still moist, rub in the salt until the flesh side is completely covered. Avoid getting salt into the fur side. When the first application is soaked in, apply a second. Fold the hide in half lengthwise, flesh side to flesh side, then roll it up and place on a slanted surface so that it can drain. Begin flushing the next day. Place the hide fur side down on a smooth log and scrape away the fat and gristle with a flushing knife, butcher knife, or a draw knife. Scrape carefully and evenly. The membrane on the hide's inner surface must be removed for tanning to be successful. Scrape with a blunt edge occasionally to help soften the leather. After flushing is complete, wash the hide in a soapy solution, then rinse quickly and thoroughly. This is not anything I've ever thought about before, so it's interesting. Dehairing. If you wish to remove the hair, it is necessary to soak the hide in a dehairing solution. Use 1 pound of hydrated lime per 8 gallons of soft water and soak for about 5 days, stirring twice a day or longer if the weather is cold, in a wooden or plastic container. Lime is caustic. When the hair is loose, rinse the hide, then place its fur side up on a smooth log and scrape off the hair and loose surface skin with the dull edge of your flushing knife. When all hair is removed, then proceed to tan. Tanning. The solution that we will give here has certain advantages over some of the other recipes, the main ones being that the hide will not over-tan. It has no dangerous acids or toxic vapors. Nevertheless, it is still necessary to use rubber gloves and a large plastic or wooden container. Add 5 pounds of salt to 10 gallons of warm, soft water. Rainwater will do. Next, mix 2 pounds alum in enough hot water to dissolve it. Then mix the 2 solutions together, stirring with a wooden paddle until the ingredients are thoroughly mixed. The solution can be used warm or cold, but not hot. Immerse the side in the tanning solution and stir gently about twice a day. Make certain the solution reaches every nook and cranny in the hide. The larger the hide, the longer it takes to tan. For example, a rabbit takes about 2 days and a deer takes about 7 days. To test for a complete tanning, cut off a little bit of the hide, and if the color is uniform all the way through the hide is tanned, it is very important to tan completely. When the hand is tied, remove it from the solution and rinse it either with a garden hose. When the hide is tanned, remove it from the solution and rinse it either with a garden hose or in a sink with many changes of water. Next, hang it over something out of direct sunlight and in such a way that the air can circulate around the hide. After several days, while the hair and hide are still damp, fold the hide flesh side to flesh side and roll it up. Leave it like this overnight. If the hide has dried before you are able to roll it up, use a wet sponge to dampen the flesh side before you roll it up. Work the hide by stretching and pulling it over a smooth surface. Continue in this manner until the hide is pliable. When the hide is pliable, with the tips of your fingers, rub in the neat's foot oil or corn oil on the flesh side. Use warm oil to clean the fur side. Fill a plastic bag with oatmeal or hardwood sawdust and shake until fur is clean. Brush and comb fur until it is entirely fluffed up. Use coarse sandpaper on any rough spots on flesh side. I never realized how time-intensive tanning hides would be. That is a lot of work. I am moving on to wild edibles. Clover. Red clover. These plants should be picked in the spring. The rose-pink flowers are about 1 inch long and are formed in dense globe-shaped heads. These flowers are white with pink bases, and the leaflets are heart-shaped and formed in groups of 3. The roots, stems, and flowers of the clover are all edible, but as with all wildflowers, should be cleaned and soaked in salted water for a couple of hours. Use in your favorite recipe as directed. Cool. I've never done that. Lamb's quarters. These plants should be gathered in spring or early summer. The leaves are diamond-shaped and toothed. A pale green flower grows at the top of the plant in clusters. The flavor of lamb's quarters suggests that of spinach, and as with spinach, when preparing, do not drown, just wash leaves thoroughly and cook. Leeks are best when picked in early spring. The leaves, when unrolled, are flat and lance-head shaped. The flavor suggests that of onion with a hint of garlic. When cultivating, pull the entire plant and clean as you would a green onion, removing the outer skin. Eat raw or use for flavoring and cooking. Milkweed. I've never ever eaten milkweed. The milkweed, when picked in early spring, is a whitish green in color. They may grow to a height of 5 feet. The seed pods grow from 3 to 5 inches long and are covered with soft spines and hair. The stalks emit a milky substance when broken. Pick stalks and seed pods and wash thoroughly. Boil for 1 minute, strain, and repeat at least 3 times. Boil once again for 10 minutes. Drain, season, and serve. This is the plant that the monarch butterflies like to lay their eggs in. Common morels. Common morels appear in May. In appearance, they resemble long, tiny sponges and have hollow white stems. The cap has irregular pits like that of a honeycomb. To prepare, soak in cold salted water for 2 to 3 hours before using in any recipe. Stinging nettles. Gathering these plants in spring or early summer wearing gloves, as this plant releases an irritating oil rich in formic acid when touched. The stinging properties are eliminated through cooking and drying. Collect the young top leaves and steam until tender. Serve with butter. Do not overcook. They need only cook for about 1 minute. The leaves can also be dried and used for tea. The stinging nettle suggests the flavor of spinach. I think I've had the stinging nettle tea. It's supposed to be good for... or nettle tea. It's supposed to be good for inflammation. Puffballs. All puffballs with white flesh are good eating. Avoid picking the ones that are overripe. These will fall apart when touched or if cut open. The center will appear yellow to greenish brown. In preparing, if the puffball is small, simply scrape off the soil, rinse, and wipe with a damp cloth. Large puffballs should be peeled. The flavor suggests that of a mushroom. Okay, I literally don't even know what a puffball is. Is it a mushroom? I've never ever seen one. Common purslane. This plant may be gathered all through the summer months. In appearance, the stems are a reddish color. The leaves are small and paddle-shaped, and the flowers are small, 5-petaled, and yellow. When the leaves are used, first wash well, and then they can be used raw in salads or cooked. This is an excellent substitute for cucumbers. The seeds can be ground into meal and mixed with flour to bake breads or boiled and eaten as porridge. Cool. I feel like I've seen this plant, but maybe I just never knew what it was. This thorny plant grows in thickets of 4 to 6 feet tall and has oval-shaped, toothed leaves 2 to 4 inches long. The wild rose is a light red, 5-petaled flower. The fruit can be eaten raw and suggests a flavor of apples. As a sweetener, the seeds must be pulverized, boiled, and strained through cheesecloth to use as a syrup. Huh. I don't think I've ever seen wild rose. As a tea, steep flowers for 5 minutes in boiling water and sweeten with wild honey. Interesting. Watercress. This plant should be gathered in the spring and summer. In appearance, the leaves are shiny dark green with rounded lobes, and the flowers are white and grow in clusters. Watercress is popular because of its superior taste to any kind of lettuce. In taste, it resembles spinach. To cultivate, snip or pinch off at the water's surface. Do not pull up the entire plant. Wash thoroughly and use in salads or as fresh or cooked vegetable. I don't know if I've had watercress. I feel like maybe. To me, I think of them as similar to being like bean sprouts or something. I don't know. Or like alfalfa sprouts. I don't know if it's the same idea or what. Wood sorrel. I don't know what that is at all. This plant should be picked in summer. The flower closely resembles the clover, as the flowers are compounded in threes and close at night. Flowers run in color from yellow to purple and always have 5 petals. The stems are long and juicy. The wood sorrel has a delicate, lemony flavor. Wash thoroughly and add to soups, stews, or mix in salads. The stems are full of moisture and make a good thirst quencher by simply nibbling. Yellow pond lily. This plant is gathered in the summer and fall using a canoe or boat. The leaves are large and oval-shaped with a deep curve at the heart-shaped base. The large and showy flowers are flattened globes made up of half a dozen thick golden sepals arching over the petals. The petals and sepals will rot away, leaving a large fleshy green capsule filled with numerous seeds. Eventually, the pulpy flesh of the fruit disintegrates to release the edible seeds. The taste of the seeds resemble that of the chestnut and the roots, the taste of a potato. Preparation. Remove the outer shell that encloses the seeds. Boil seeds to make a gruel, or parch in a hot frying pan until seeds swell and pop open slightly. These cracked seeds can be eaten as is or pounded into meal and used to make bread or porridge. The meal can also be used as a soup thickener. The seeds can be dried and stored in a cool, dark place. The potato-like roots are also delicious edibles. Their overpowering taste can be severed by boiling in 2 changes of water and seasoned. Okay, cattails. Cattails can grow to a height of 10 feet. They are found in any marshy areas. Cattail shoots are easily pulled and have a syrupy core which is eaten like celery, cooked or raw. The spikes taste similar to corn. Yellow pollen, when dried and sifted, can be used as flour, either alone or mixed half and half with conventional flour. Roots and root shoots. Sprouts, boiled, are good with butter or when cooked with meat. Cattail potatoes are found below the shoots and when peeled can be used raw in salads or cooked as potatoes. I didn't know that. When I was young, I was a child in the 80s and early 90s, and my mom liked to do crafts, and we had like this old station wagon, and my mom she had to drop off something into a store. The storefront was like one, like kind of like where there would be like a strip mall almost, but it was not exactly that way. So anyway, she parked the car right in front of the big window so she could just run in without like taking all 3 of us kids in and drop off whatever. and just keep an eye on us in the car. Well, I guess she had these cattails in the back window of the station wagon for quite some time, and they had dried out, and she was going to use them for crafts. While we were sitting there waiting, we, in our great wisdom, took down the cattails, and I guess she couldn't see what we were really doing, but we were using them like swords and having a sword fight. But unfortunately, these stupid things were so dried that the brown poofy part came out. So the brown part, it's actually white underneath, and it comes apart when it's super, super dry, kind of almost like a dandelion, but not quite. Anyway, we had been sword fighting with the cattails, and by the time she got back into the station wagon, which was really not that long at all, there was like white fluff all over the station wagon, like all over, everywhere. And she said it was really difficult to get out with the vacuum later. Oh my god, I honestly, as kids, we didn't think twice about it. We just did what we did, right? Like, we were pretty young. Anyway. Okay, dandelions. Wine. Flowers should be washed thoroughly, and wine preparation began immediately. Roots can be used like chicory for a non-caffeinated coffee substitute. The cooked leaves suggest a flavor of spinach. They should be picked before the flowers appear, otherwise they have to be boiled twice to remove the bitterness from them. Fiddleheads. I've had fiddleheads like one time. They're expensive. They're hard to get in the store. They're kind of hard to find because you have to get them at a certain time of year. Fiddleheads gain their name because of their shape. The best time to cultivate this plant is before it reaches a height of approximately 6 inches and appears still curled and rusty in color. When picking, pick it close to the root. To prepare, remove rusty colored skin and wash in warm water. Let stand in cold water for 30 minutes. Serving suggestions: steam or saute the fiddleheads and serve with butter and bacon. The plant suggests a flavor of broccoli or asparagus. That's true. It's kind of a strange mix between the two. But yeah, like they're the young sprouts of the ferns. That's what fiddleheads are. So they're a little harder to gather and whatnot. So then they give us a bunch of recipes here. Cattails on the cob, cattail pastries, Seychelles chowder. Dandelion greens supreme. Dandelion greens. Cream of fiddlehead soup with mushrooms. Marinated fiddleheads. Clover soup. That would be interesting. Homemade honey. Oh, I see. So it's using the blossoms. That's interesting. Fritters, lamb's quarters, and bacon. Cheese sauce with leeks. Wild leeks with consomme. Grazed milkweed stalks. All for your morels. Definitely a morel mushroom dish. Corny morels. Creamed nettles. Nettle soup. Puffballs with bacon. Cream puffballs. Purslane and fried eggs. Purslane greens. Rosehip jelly. Rosehips are like the buds. I think it's after the rose has fully bloomed and the petals have fallen off. I think it's the center. rose fritters, stewed watercress, wood sorrel sauce, sorrel soup, and popcorn. Using water lily seeds, golden pond lily stew. Oh yeah, there's a little small section here on some of the common nuts. Acorns are gathered in the fall. Roasted and salted acorns have a taste cross between sunflower seeds and popcorn. I've never had acorns. Red oaks, bitter acorns, oval-shaped with woolly hairs lining the cup. These acorns will remain on the trees throughout the winter months. To remove the bitterness, first shell, then boil the kernels for 2 hours or more, changing the water each time it becomes tea-colored. Use only boiling water for the changes so as not to interrupt the boiling procedure. Continue until water remains clear and nut is chocolate brown in color. White oaks, sweet acorns, oval-shaped with a smooth inner wall of cup. I think those are the ones I usually see. Maybe. I'm not sure now. No, because they're talking about the inside of the acorn. Needs only to be shelled and roasted. Dip dried acorns in clarified sugar. Served. Ground meal can be used as a substitute for conventional flour in baking. Good as a soup thickener. Roasted acorns are also a popular coffee substitute. Black walnuts. Gather in the fall. Fruit is globular shaped and have fleshy yellow-green husks with a hard black nut inside. It is best to wear gloves when gathering, as shells will discolor your hands. Coloring makes excellent dye, which is almost impossible to remove. The best way to break the husk and shell is with a hammer. Butternuts. Butternuts should be gathered in the fall. Also referred to as the white walnut. The fruit is elliptical in shape and the husk is a sticky and yellowy green. The kernel is even harder to extract than that of the walnut. You can accomplish this only by repeated blows from a hammer. Use these kernels in place of walnuts. Roast kernels in a moderate oven of about 300 Fahrenheit until dried. Leave whole, chopped, or pulverized. Store in glass containers and seal tightly. I've never seen this. Pretty sure I've never seen them. The drawing looks a little bit like an almond. Pick in the fall after... baked hazelnuts. Picked in the fall after the first frost. Leaves appear alternately on the branches, never in pairs, and are oval-shaped and sharply toothed. Nuts have a stinging tubular husk covering them. To remove skins, spread on baking pan and heat in 325 Fahrenheit oven for 30 minutes. Cool, then skins should rub off easily. I don't think I've ever seen wild hazelnut. Chestnut trees are very scarce today. The fruit is dark brown with a bird, prickly shell, found in clusters of 2 to 6 fruit. Roast over open fire for about 10 minutes, then removed from shells. An alternate method is to roast in the oven for about 1 hour on a salted tray, remove from shell, and then pour melted butter over the top. I've had roasted chestnuts, I think, once or twice. They're pretty delish. I'm surprised the chestnut trees are very scarce. Now I feel like we need to plant chestnut trees. Maple syrup, these are very abundant trees, at least where I am. Trees should be tapped early in the spring. Good syrup can be obtained from all maples, but the sugar maple is the most common. To tap the maple tree for sap, make a V-shaped groove through the bark with a knife. Use a spile made from a tin can lid, a piece of birch bark or elderberry stems, and insert them into the incision to allow the sap to drain out. A delicious syrup can be made by boiling the sap for about 2 hours, depending on preferred texture and consistency. An average-sized tree will yield approximately 1 gallon of syrup a year. 2 taps or spiles can be put into most trees. Wow. That's why it's very expensive. Well, the real maple syrup, not the artificial stuff. Maple syrup. The Indians were the first people to make maple syrup and sugar. A tomahawk was used to make a slant cut into a tree. They drove a flat piece of wood into the lower end of the cut. The sap ran along this piece of wood and into a birch bark dish. Women and girls poured this sap into birch bark pails and carried it to the boiling place. The Indians made kettles of green birch bark because the green bark would not burn for a long time. During the boiling process, the water evaporated and the maple syrup remained. If boiled long enough, the maple syrup will turn into sugar. Wow, that's interesting. I did not know. The natives, usually don't say Indians anymore. The natives, so it's really weird to see it in the book, that's for sure. The natives definitely did. They probably just have that terminology because that's how the government for many, many, many years has called them. Acorn meal, acorn pancakes, butternut sauce, maple nuts, black walnut souffle, butternut cake, chestnut soup, chestnuts and bacon, hazelnut cakes. These all sound great, don't they? Wow. Look at all this. So much. Okay, we're getting closer and closer to the end. Okay, so crab apples to be picked in the fall after the first frost. White blossoms on tree turn to fruit of yellow-green. Hopa crab apple. Pink apple blossoms followed by fruit red all the way through. All recipes use the crab apple differently, so follow directions in the recipe being used. Make sure to wash away and remove blossoms and stems. Cut out any bruised or wormy parts. Cranberries. I've been to the cranberry farms. It's interesting. Gather this fruit in October. Cranberries will stay on stem all winter long. The fruit is scarlet red. The stems are trailing and wiry. There are many ways to use cranberries, and they will keep for months and months. Wash well in cold water 2 or 3 times. Pack in sterilized jars and refrigerate. To freeze, lay out on tray and freeze for about 2 hours. When frozen, place in containers or in freezer bags. When needed, rinse out in cold water and use in any recipe calling for fresh cranberries. A cranberry farm is kind of like a flooded, marshy type situation that they grow in. And actually making your own cranberry sauce is not that difficult. Even if you just buy the frozen cranberries or the fresh cranberries and then freeze them. Elderberries. Pick in July to the middle of August. The berries are magenta purple, almost black in color, and grow in a single cluster. During June and July, clusters of tiny, creamy white flowers bloom. These flowers are called elderblow. Both the berries and the flowers are edible. The Indians used the stems as well. They made maple spiles, pea shooters, and whistles with them. Oh, that's interesting. The berries are best when dried. Excellent for use in pies, muffins, sauces, and juices. Always stew berries with a little sugar first. Strain and use in recipe. Elderberry has little acid and so is best mixed with other fruit. When using elderblow, simply remove any coarse stems and rinse. Use in favorite recipes. Okay, let's see now. Huckleberries and blueberries. Huckleberry is smaller and darker in color than the blueberry and has a hard seed-like berry. Gather these in July and August. Blueberry. These are gathered in July and August also. The fruits are blue-black in color with a waxy bloom and many soft seeds. In Algonquin Park, they had a lot of wild blueberries, and you could go and pick some, but you had to be careful because when the blueberries are in season, the bears are definitely coming to eat at some point. And I think this nowadays, like, people don't really disturb the blueberry bushes out in the wild because they want the animals to do well. It's kind of like a conservation thing. Although you could probably have a couple. Preparation: simply pick through berries, removing all smashed or green berries. Place in pot filled with water and skim off whatever floats to the top. Use in favorite recipe. Wild raspberries. I've had wild raspberries. I remember when we would be camping, there was an area that had some. Pick in July or early August. The fruits are red, sometimes yellow and juicy. Each is an aggregate of several tiny individual fruits. When the berries are ripe, they separate easily from the white central receptacle and fall off in typical thimble form. Sort through berries carefully, removing any bruised or wormy fruit. Wash in cold water, drain, and let dry. Use in favorite recipe. The fruit is picked in the month of August. Yeah, I like wild raspberry. Or you can have your own raspberry bushes too. You should, if you have the ability to have a garden, you should definitely plant some plants that you can eat. Edible berries. Stag sumac. Okay, edible berries are hard and white and bright red in color, covered with tiny hairs. Poisonous berries are white in color and hang loosely. Oh goodness. Sumacs are usually found in the same areas as the elderberry. It complements other less acidy fruits such as the elderberry. Preparation: break off fruit in whole clusters, gathering before hard rains wash out most of the acids. Put heads in a large container and cover with water. Using a potato masher, pound and stir for 10 minutes. Always strain juice through a cloth several times to remove any tiny hairs. I don't think I would go out of my way to collect these, since I'd probably get the red and the white mixed up. I'd rather not poison myself. I'd forget. Spiced crab apple recipe, wild apple sauce, traditional cranberry sauce. We don't even make it this way. I think we just use regular sugar. But it's also delicious. Wild cranberry conserve. That looks good. Oh, sounds good. Wild cranberry juice, wild cranberry sauce. Yeah, this is basically what we do here. Although, you don't have to do it this way if you buy them in the store in the bag. You don't have to like rub pulp and all that. Elderberry catsup. Catsup, isn't that American? Who says catsup? Is it UK? It's ketchup. Elderflower fritters. Wild blueberry cookies. Curried fruit with wild blueberries. Wild blueberry pancakes. Yes, I would love that. Huckleberry crisp. Huckleberry muffins. Wild raspberry bread pudding. Raspberry or blackberry dumplings. Sumacade. Sumac jelly. Okay. I think we probably don't have much we can really do after this. Okay, so wild rice. Wild rice ripens in August. It usually grows in moving waters about 3 to 4 feet deep. The very long seed-like grass is often 8 to 10 feet tall and has a long brown-like flower on top. To harvest, bind the plant over your canoe and beat the pulp, causing the fruit to fall into the canoe. Interesting. Preparation. To preserve wild rice, first spread out in a warm place until it is thoroughly dried, then bake in a shallow pan for about 2 hours at 225 Fahrenheit, stirring occasionally to parch it evenly. After drying, the husk can be loosened by pounding and rubbing through the hands. Store in jars and seal. Always wash the rice thoroughly before using, otherwise it has a disagreeable smoky flavor. I see. Then they have a baked wild rice spoon bread, quick wild rice dish, speedy wild rice pudding. And then some other miscellaneous things like moose marinade, venison marinade, barbecue sauce, egg sauce, mushroom sauce, venison steak, chasseur, Creole sauce, guap kisgan. I don't know if that's how you say it. Shoe swap bannock. It's kind of a bread. I guess this is also kind of some kind of bread. Bacon corn bread, potato scones, fried bread, grandma sweet biscuits, all bran bread, wild rice stuffing, partridge stuffing, cranberry and raisin stuffing, cornbread stuffing, cheese stuffing for fish, homemade fish batter, easy fish batter. And then they give what at the time would have been the calorie counts for the different meats. That's so funny. So it's all the same. Black bear, deer, and then liver, moose, muskrat, beaver, rabbit, ground squirrel, duck, goose, eel, pike, pickerel, salmon, whitefish, lake trout, dandelion greens, fiddleheads, lamb's quarters, crab apples, cranberries, blueberries, raspberries, and bannock. Well, I wonder why they only chose some of them to show. Maybe they didn't have the data on the other things. And then there's honorable mentions here. We gratefully acknowledge the support of those who unselfishly submitted their recipes in order that we could produce this issue of the Rural and Native Heritage Cookbook. There's a lot of names, look at that. And we also acknowledge those who also gave, but whose names have not been mentioned. We have not forgotten you, and you may look forward to your recipes appearing in our Volume 2 cookbook. The cover print called The Gathering is from an original painting by native artist Norman Knott of Curve Lake Reserve, Ontario. The recipes found throughout this cookbook were gathered from the native and rural communities of Ontario, a fact which both Norman and ourselves felt made this print appropriate. Let's look at it. Many different bird types. I like the art. Very nice. It's a bit dirty. It's been a well-loved book, that's for sure. And then I guess they do a sneak preview for the number 2, but I don't have Volume 2. Oh no, they do homemade cleaning products and stuff. Wow. Herbal and natural medicines. That would be really cool to get the Volume 2. And then homemade wines. Pretty cool, you guys. I would love to get my hands on book 2. Woo. Well, my friend, that is it for this book. I mean, I didn't get into the actual directions for everything, but yeah, that would take forever. You have a general overview of what it says, minus the whole skinning section, which also goes into great detail. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon. Sweet dreams. Been watching ASMR Sleep. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that next time.